What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching. My name is Savannah. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are back in Prehistoric Kingdom with another habitat speed build, and this time is for the Lambeosaurus. And I know I can say that one right. That was not the one you guys yelled at me for, the styracosaurus? Because I was saying it styracosaurus, but you guys are telling me that I needed to include the Y in there, so styracosaurus. Is that better? I hope it's better, but thank you guys so much for pointing that out for me as I still learn how to pronounce these dinosaurs' names and get the hang of it. But the Lambeosaurus is what we are building for today. And you may have caught some of this. We did build some of this on stream, so I didn't do all of this on my own, but this is essentially what I'm just calling like a treetop, tree house viewing area. It's not technically a tree house because I don't build like a cover and a shade structure over it, but it's essentially like a bridge kind of platform viewing area. And it was my first kind of step into playing with how the guests traverse and navigate over these modular pieces. So as you'll see here, to start out with, I'm starting by creating the circular platform areas that are going to go around each tree. And I'm really pleased with the circular rotation tools in Prehistoric Kingdom so far. They were really easy to use, and I was able to kind of get them to do exactly what I wanted, kind of first try. So I was pretty pleased with that, and duplicating them over and getting them all nice and symmetrical was really nice. I do still wish we had an undo redo button because that would really help me in builds like this. But again, we are still in alpha, so when you're seeing this, this is still built in the alpha version of the game, and you'll see me save quite a bit because I was having some crashing issues, but I ended up figuring out that was on my end and not the game's end. But anyway, so an alpha build, and the developers do hopefully want to move into beta very soon. Excuse me, I normally turn my phone off when I start to record, but clearly I forgot. But anyway, they do want to go into beta fairly soon, and we actually just got a devlog, so devlog number 37, and I know some other content creators kind of covered that, but I wasn't able to make a separate video on that information, so I figured we kind of just go through that as we're talking about this build today. So they said, to start, we want to thank everyone who participated in the alpha, which was about roughly 1,300 people. That's way more than I thought it was, to be honest. I thought there was way fewer people that got their hands on the alpha build. You're all building some amazing stuff, and the team is extremely happy to hear the excitement in the community. Detailed in our last live stream, there's a number of additions and improvements we're working on for the alpha. Since then, the team's decided to reschedule the addition of the viewing platform and building state icons for beta so we can properly introduce their mechanics at a more appropriate time. Overall, we're expecting support for alpha to come to an end in early April, though this may be extended if major issues arise. So there you go. So looking like ending our alpha here in early April, so only like in the next week or so, and then moving straight on to beta. So on a musical note, pun intended, our composer and sound designer Byron began writing and planning out a new soundtrack earlier in March. This time around, we're aiming to create a very dynamic score, one that's adaptive and built around a layered music system. We've learned a lot about modern audio implementation over the last year, and we really wanted to do the potential of this game's music justice. So that's pretty exciting. Then we go down and we see a development report here. We've got pre-alpha 1 and pre-alpha 2 checked off, and we are in the alpha and the beta progression stages. So exciting stuff. They were able to showcase a bunch of creators on here, which was really cool. What I'm looking at is a modular bridge similar to what we're doing here, but Leaf Productions actually created like a suspension bridge, and it even slopes and has a curve to it, which I think is really cool. With the bridge that we're building here that you're seeing, I did have to go back and add pieces underneath those little plank pieces because the guests were just falling right through them. So I did have to add like a solid piece, but after I did that, it worked for the most part. There were some little edges where I think guests kind of fell through and weren't able to like stay on top of the stuff, but overall it did work really well. So I was really pleased with how well the guests actually did use the modular build pieces as a bridge. So in regards to the modular pathfinding, the devlog says, as you may have already seen in the alpha footage, our visitors are able to fully navigate in, on, and around modular structures. This is a real game changer, as it means the guests do not solely rely on paths to get around your park. And no joke, it is a real game changer. It opens up so many doors, so many possibilities as far as creativity goes. I'm really excited to see that this is kind of a core feature in the build mechanics of the game, because it really does open a lot of doors and gives us a whole bunch of different possibilities. They move on to talk about some UI improvements and changes. So thanks to great feedback from our lovely alpha players, we've started working on some tweaks and updates to our user interface. Please note that these changes will not be available until beta. So from the nursery, the little screen that we saw with the Lambeosaurus just a little bit ago, that's our little nursery where we hatch different dinosaurs. So for the nursery, we noted that some players struggle to find the animal creation box. With these adjustments, we hope to make that area more digestible as the main workspace. Some more miscellaneous enhancements we made too, tweaks like centralizing the animal's name and various balances to the overall piece. When it comes to construction, however, there are a few things that we needed to communicate better. So when we're editing a group, for example, so a new screen border, group header, and dedicated exit button will appear when a player enters a group. A subtle audio cue will also play. That way you can kind of know when you're editing a group of items and when you're just placing down singular items, which I think are going to be really, really helpful. What are the keybinds? On-screen keybinds will be bigger and more specific to what the user is actually doing, eliminating excessive visual noise and hopefully inspiring new players to give them a glance. If you're a master though, these floating keybinds can be turned off in the options menu. For the toolbox in general, we're splitting it into two components for centralized access, settings and customization. What appears in the respective windows will be context sensitive, dependent on what's currently ready for placement and what's selected in the world. I have some pictures on screen here, but obviously you guys can't see those. I do definitely recommend checking out this full devlog if you are curious to see, especially the showcases from the builders is really cool. And then lastly, building state icons. So to help with general usability, building state icons will be added during beta to better display what's needed from the player at a moment's notice. These remain a consistent size on screen, but scaled down over distance. We should note that these are reversed for things that require your attention or that are time sensitive. So yeah, it looks like they've got little alerts over the building to kind of let us know what's going on, which is really cool. And then they move into an animal showcase, and they're showcasing the Lambeosaurus, which is perfect because that's what we're doing in our build here. And then they go through and highlight a few different creators, Rudy, Delay Designer, on some videos that they made. If you are definitely looking for more Prehistoric Kingdom coverage, they do have some wonderful videos out. I highly suggest going to check them out. And then some more just community spotlights of some builds and using the modular pieces. Of course, Zekin made a dome, which looks really, really fantastic. So yeah, overall, that's kind of the gist of what is in the devlog 37 that came out a couple weeks ago, a week ago. I can't quite remember. I am a bit late to the party kind of talking about it, but I've had an incredibly busy couple weeks. In fact, I wanted to have this video out for you guys yesterday, but unfortunately I got hit with the worst migraine. I streamed in the morning like we normally do, and then was kind of hanging out in some other streamers' chats for a couple hours, and unfortunately then a migraine struck, and when I get migraines I kind of have to just sleep them off, unfortunately. So I lost my whole afternoon, was so unproductive, didn't really do anything, which is why you're now getting this a day late. So I do apologize because I had every intention of getting this out on Monday morning for you, but you're going to be seeing this Tuesday morning if you're watching it right when we get out, right when I release it rather. So then back to what we are doing in the build. We are creating a second little viewing platform area, and this is another reason why guests being able to traverse the modular build pieces, excuse me, is so cool, is because not only can we create these like bridge treehouse, systems like I've done on the other side, but 2, we can kind of create these little jetting out areas that they can walk on. You can see there, in order to get the path to actually work, I had to extend out the terrain, put the path down, and then take it back. But instead of trying to finagle with getting the path as close to the edge as you can, or like in Planet Zoo, raising it up so that it's above off the ground and then trying to hide all the curbs and things like that come with it, you can just create these things out of build pieces. And as long as you know the path is leading up to them, or the guests have a path at the start right now, they'll just start using them. So it just makes things so much easier, so much more customizable, because you can make things like stairs and bridges and all that kind of stuff that are very detailed, very intricate. And I will say, with the very limited pieces that we have in game, the most limiting factor right now is the colors of the pieces, because as you've heard me mention before, if you've caught another one of my videos or streams on Prehistoric Kingdom, the scaling makes it possible to essentially turn any piece into anything that you want. So really the main limiting factor on building right now are the colors of things, because we don't have flexi-colored objects or anything like that. I do believe that the developers have said they've been working on flexi-colored objects or items to come out with full release, or maybe even with beta. But yeah, right now that is the limiting factor there. But as you can see, you know, placing down all the foliage, the trees, the greenery, and especially the rocks. Placing down rocks is so easy because they all scale. They have a little thing on the side. If you can see my screen, it'll say like keep object rotation or keep object scale. And that way, when you're placing multiple objects, they'll stay the same size, or you're switching between objects, they'll stay the same scaled size that you made them already. And it makes creating these big back rock walls incredibly quick, incredibly easy, because not to mention you can also then go in and just duplicate a whole bunch of them over and over again, because they're all in the same kind of build group that we're modifying now. The trees, same thing. It makes things look very different between the different trees that you're using, even though you're using the same tree. If you make it taller, skinnier, fatter, all that kind of stuff, rotated, they look like individual different little trees, or more so, you know, different trees. So yeah, it just makes things like that super easy. So I cannot wait to see what other foliage we get in the game, what other scenery build pieces we have, because I would love to continue to play with that. On stream 3 weeks ago now, I believe, we started what I was calling Pangea Park, and because we are still in alpha and because I'm still kind of getting a hold of the game, I will probably save like a full-on park project until the beta, if not even early access full release, so that we can really kind of get the hang of how the game works, get a lot of the build pieces in there, and see what we can do. So a lot of these habitat builds, I do have a couple more planned, will just be trying to wrap our minds around the game and get myself used to the controls and all the different mechanics and things like that. So I'm very happy with how this one came out. I'm pretty pleased, and in fact, we actually go through and make a little shade structure right here, just kind of my way of kind of dipping my toe into building with lots and lots of pieces. So we're gonna end up building a shade structure on this side just for the little guest viewing area. So sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. It was a very long day today, and I did some special training for work, so I was actually away from my actual work site doing some like on the ground physical training. So I'm very exhausted today, so please do forgive my words for kind of stumbling over one another, but not too much more to do. So I will say I'm gonna leave you with the rest of the speed build. There's only a few more minutes and then some cinematics at the very end, of course. So we will continue with Prehistoric Kingdom. I am absolutely loving covering it on the channel. I'm loving playing the game, and I just cannot wait. The developers have been so receptive to input, to changes, and just have really been communicative with all of us, and are really creating a great game. So I cannot wait to see what they come out with and what they continue to kind of implement in game. So we will definitely be covering this through beta and into early access full release. So do do stay tuned. I do have a few people asking me where they can get the game, and right now, unfortunately, you're not able to pick up the alpha anymore, so you'll just kind of have to wait for the later stages of the game to come out. But do keep it here, do keep checking in, because I will announce kind of what's going on, what we're doing with the game, and things like that. So until next time, guys, I will catch you in the next video, and I hope to see you there. Thanks, guys. Bye.